Hey guys, we have to talk about Ethiopia again, that region that is so battled with these earthquakes in the 5 range, 5.8, 5.5, 5.2, lots in the higher 4 ranges. And then we thought for a day or so, are the earthquakes slowing down? Is this it? Was it maybe just magma intruding somewhere? Is it calming down? But unfortunately it isn't. The earthquakes have picked up again. Just a day and 21 hours, so almost 2 days ago, we had another earthquake above 5.2, followed by many others in the 4 ranges again. So same thing. And now the interesting thing is, if you look at now local media, things are catching up a little bit also in the countries around Ethiopia because they're worried about infrastructure. And there's, again, guys, we need to talk about this Grand Renaissance Dam again, because there's more and more concerns being raised about the potential hazard that many countries downstream would face if that dam was breached, like cracked. And it's far away from the epicenter. It's not that far away, but far enough so that many people are saying, whoa, wait a minute, how can that be affected? It actually can. And there's even newspapers reports about it. So we will talk about that, but I want to basically give you an insight in what another local resident from Ethiopia has told us about the infrastructure. Because in my last video, residents have asked, well, should we be worried in Addis Ababa, the capital? Should we be worried about these earthquakes? And then we found out many scientists are saying, well, the structures are not really up to the seismic codes and they're very vulnerable, and so is infrastructure. And we have seen the roads being cracked by these earthquakes already. Over 50 homes have collapsed, over 100,000 people have been evacuated, some have to be homed somewhere else permanently. So this is really affecting everything. And I said, guys, if you're in Addis Ababa, stock up with essentials for a while at least, because we don't know if there's any roads, major roads that are affected by these earthquakes that lead through this region somehow, if they crack and you can't get supplies in. And here's a comment from one of my viewers, so thank you so much. And if you're in the area, if you live in Ethiopia, in that affected area, send us comments, let us know how you're doing and let us know what's happening. So let's hear that comment. DJ John has said, Ethiopia's most important road in terms of supply chains between Addis Ababa and Djibouti, the only fully functioning port that services Ethiopia, is just a few miles south of Fentale. Fentale is the volcano that is rumbling, the Fentale and the Dofen volcano, and the earthquakes, the epicenters are basically between these two volcanoes, and there's a risk. Right now, we're thinking maybe the Dofen volcano is waking up from its dormancy. Fentale has been dormant for over 200 years. So residents there have no experience with these volcanoes erupting, actually. So Fentale, the road has gotten busier with large trucks as Ethiopia's population has been growing at a rapid pace. Any disruption of traffic could result in significant shortages in many parts of the country. So it seems not only in Addis Ababa. There's also a fairly newly built railroad between Addis Ababa and Djibouti, which is aligned on the side of the road closer to the volcanoes in this area. So the problem is, and I will read you some newspapers, authorities are now worried about Ethiopia as a whole, that these earthquakes might not only disrupt their infrastructure, their supply chains, but it's also bad for business if this area is now declared as seismically active, or even like active volcanoes that might erupt. I mean, we had some minor eruptions already, the steam coming out, the mud and the rocks being pushed out of these fissures that have opened there, and they got larger by the time, so they haven't seen that before in this magnitude. So let's hear what some of the media are saying, because that is very interesting, guys. And again, guys, before we talk about Egypt, Sudan, Ethiopia, I'm not taking anybody's side here. So again, Egyptians, you don't have to be upset. Ethiopians, you don't have to be upset. I'm not on the Egyptian side. I understand that this is a very sensitive topic. So what I'm trying to do here is give the viewers the information about what is going on and the awareness about what is going on in your country. So we don't want to judge what is going on. So the earthquakes, the aftershocks, these smaller eruptions that have already happened have rocked regions, the Awash region around Fentale, the Afar region, Oromia and Amhara regions in October, basically since December 22nd, already dating back to 2023. So this has been going on for a while, but it has accelerated and intensified right now at the end of 2024. And now it has started really massive into 2025. So of course that has raised the fears in many areas about a larger volcanic eruption, and it has already prompted the hasty evacuation of more than 100,000 people, which is kudos to the authorities. I think that was a good thing to do. So now we have the people out of the immediate danger zones should there something happening. And there's some scientists, geoscientists from Sudan actually, they're basically saying and that's according to the press, that they're downplaying the concerns that the quakes could impact the crucial Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. That dam is 1,800 meters wide. It's very, very high. It contains a lot of water. So if that breaches and floods into Egypt and Sudan, it will be catastrophic. They say the current activity is far from the dam, which was designed to take seismic events into account. So that's the one side, but there's other scientists that are saying something else. So just this week, we've had a series of earthquakes that have rocked the remote north of Ethiopia again. It has raised concerns about the country's developmental projects. That's what the local press is reporting. And we remember January 4th, it was shaken by this 5.8 magnitude earthquake, the epicenter near Addis, Ababa. And it was just the latest really large one in a series that has caused landslides and minor volcanic eruptions. I have reported about this. If you're interested, check out my other videos about this here in the end screen. So the seismic activity has stirred, of course, concern over potential impact on the country's national development projects. And that is very, very important for Ethiopia. So that's a cornerstone of the legitimacy of the Abiy Ahmed government. For them, it's very important that they can show some progress. So the government is struggling to keep together this ethnically fragmented society. And even I can say I'm realizing this when I look at the comments, that there's some people not, I say, green with each other within Ethiopia. So some are really afraid, or they fear that if these current trends of geohazards continues, that it will potentially impact the country's development centerpiece, the Grand Ethiopian Renaissance Dam. We have to get back to the dam again. So this mega project is relatively remote from the African portion of the Great Rift Valley, and that Great Rift Valley that consists of a network of rift and fault systems in East Africa. So there are no immediate seismic risks in the vicinity of the dam. However, an escalating reoccurrence and magnitude of seismic and volcanic events could have, and that's what the scientists are saying, detrimental effects on the body of the dam itself. So that's the other side. So they're saying a rupture in the dam doesn't mean it's completely collapsing. A small rupture first is enough, because that dam retains vast quantities of water, would unleash a nightmarish ecological and humanitarian disaster on Ethiopia, but also on the downstream nations. So that's why we're not surprised that local but also international experts have sounded warnings. They do sound the warnings, urging concerted efforts to implement technological precautions in that dam area to protect the dam from seismic risks. So they probably factored that in when they built it. I can't imagine that they didn't, but probably not to that extent. We have heard that experts said, well, if we see something in the 6 mark or over 6, it could be critical. And then after they said that, we've seen a 5.8. So I think caution is definitely needed. So in Ethiopia itself, this increased frequency of these earthquakes and the intensity, the increasing intensity of the earthquakes, that could have, as you can imagine, severe repercussions on the standards of living in this area in Ethiopia and on the economy. And economy is such a valuable part because the economy there, Eddie, speak quiet. The economy there is already in decline. Inhabitants in the areas that are closest to these earthquakes, to the seismic activity, to the epicenters, and where they feel it, they would be most immediately affected by deteriorating standards of living, and they already are. I give you an example. On January 5th, that was just, after the 5.8, the Ethiopian Disaster Risk Management Commission has reported that already on January 5th, 20,500 out of over 51,000 people who were affected by the quakes and tremors that shook these regions had to be relocated to safer areas. And we know that many more people have followed since then. And why are they so worried about their economy? I'll give you an example. That's the recent figures that are out there. So the Ethiopian currency, it's called the birr, has lost about 33% of its value. That's a lot, guys. That's really, really bad. And Addis Ababa's external debt has reached $28 billion by early 2024. So currently, already, the Ethiopian government is currently unable to make the $1.6 billion interest payments on this debt, because its foreign currency reserves have dipped to only 1.5 billion. But not only that, infrastructure and infrastructure projects in many parts of the country will also be at risk if Ethiopia becomes a high seismic hazards zone or volcanic hazards, because that's what it is. Most likely. I mean, we know that there's 2 tectonic plates drifting apart from each other, which is definitely causing tectonic earthquakes. But what we're seeing right now, scientists kind of agree that it's most likely magmatic, so volcanic. So let's say Ethiopia becomes a high risk volcanic earthquake zone. That means like buildings, bridges, and other urban infrastructure will be more vulnerable to collapse and damage. And utilities and other essential services will be more vulnerable to disruption, of course. And my viewer pointed this out in a great way. So Ethiopia experienced over 150 earthquakes and tremors in just 2 weeks, and that's only what seismologists were able to detect and measure. It's been probably hundreds, if not thousands more, because there is no seismic measuring network in place. But people in Addis Ababa and my viewers said, well, we felt it continuously, right? So the government is right that they're worried, because this increased seismic activity, guys, it could have potentially destabilizing political consequences for the country. And that would not only affecting domestic issues, but also a range of complex foreign issues if that were to happen. So the volcanoes not only can cause an eruption, that's not the only fear. They're already causing a lot of trouble without even showing a bigger eruption. And sorry guys, I've tried to find a remote location here to make that video so that it would be quiet, But now I've got some kids building a sandcastle basically right next to me. I'm sorry for the noise, but I can't move right now. I've got the dogs tied to logs behind me. I had to separate Eddie and Rudy and so that they don't attack each other again, so that I can make this video. Actually, I'll show you a picture here. My tripod standing on a log and I'm sitting in the sand, and I've got some viewer behind me. So let's talk about the Abiy Ahmed government. They will come under increasing public pressure if things go sideways, because they need to ensure that precautions are in place to mitigate harms from earthquakes and ensure effective emergency and humanitarian responses in the event of such natural disasters. And I think they should call for outside help, because it doesn't sound that they have the financial means right now to do this by themselves. I mean, they have acted in a good way, in my opinion, by evacuating these people. So I don't think they've done such a bad job, but some farmers there have said, well, how can we get out? We have nothing. We need transportation, and they have already sent the military. So hopefully maybe by now, military trucks have helped transport animals out and stuff like this, but I don't know. But I know farmers have complained and said, basically all we can do is walk with our animals. We have nothing left. And then there's the problem, all these evacuated people, they need to be taken care of. That costs money too. You need to find new places for them. So the government's economic strains could hamper its efficacy in performing these tasks, and like poor government performance at a time of need. I mean, we know what that could cause, you know, at the very least could erode Abiy Ahmed's popularity, but it could get worse. So increasing frequency, guys, and intensity of earthquakes could undermine the government's efficacy in handling delicate and pressing foreign policy issues. We've seen this in other countries. So this recent wave of seismic activity, plus the fear of a volcanic eruption, coincided with like already escalating tensions between Ethiopia and Somalia. They're fighting over the former country's deal to build a naval base in Somaliland, which broke away from Somalia about 30 years ago. And although a Turkish brokered reconciliation agreement in late December led to detent, the underlying dispute remains unresolved still. So indeed, Addis Ababa and Mogadishu have already begun to trade accusations again. So if we have these seismic hazards and these disasters, if these hazards and disasters will continue, and if they will restrict the Ethiopian government's maneuverability towards the crisis with Mogadishu and other regional issues, that could turn out to be a real big problem. And certainly what we know for sure, they need to deploy more resources at home to contend with these earthquakes, with these seismic risks, because Addis Ababa, according to the media there, is trying to fill a regional power vacuum in the Horn of Africa. And with everything that's going on, this could be weakened, this could dampen its ambitions to expand its control and influence in the continent. But, you know, that just on a side note, to basically know what's going on in the country politically and how these volcanoes, Fentale and Dofen right now, could really have a greater impact aside from the destruction that they're already causing. So guys, I will stay on top of this, and if you want to learn more about this, check out my other videos. I'll put them here in the end screen. And guys, thanks for asking. Thanks for your nice comments, since I told you in my life what's going on with my hand. It's very painful, I have to say, really, really painful. But it seems it's not getting infected, so I'm doing good, but it's painful. I really have to say that, because it caught me in here and then in here. So that's not really too good. And now the wolves are saying that I have to stop. Thanks for your support, guys, that you have given me yesterday, for your super thanks, and for the coffees. So Meredith and all the others, thank you so much, guys. You have no idea how much that helps right now. So I see you very soon. Hopefully stay safe, guys. And if you want to know more behind the scene of all the chaotic stuff that's going on right now, become a member of my channel, guys, and check out my other channel. My members already know why I have uploaded a video there about the recent earthquakes in another country, Tibet. It's on my other channel because here it was declared you cannot monetize it. It's too sensitive content, although I wasn't showing anything bad. So after trying to change it and censor it 7 times, uploading again, I gave up. I loaded it on my other channel that's not monetized yet, so it helps me there to get the necessary 4,000 watch hours to monetize that channel. So if you're interested in the latest news about that, I'll put it here in the end screen as well. Check it out over there. It's also me. It's news with Silky. So thanks for watching, guys. I see you very soon. Bye bye.